There are two purposes of a currency, which is a medium of exchange and a storehold of wealth. And we're living in a world where we have three major currencies are fiat currencies with the same kind of problems. So you can't look at one currency in relationship to another. I think people make a lot of mistakes of thinking, it's an ugly contest. The questions that we're going to be in is storehold of wealth. Okay, what is your storehold of wealth? And a money is a storehold of wealth that also is widely accepted in other countries so that you can move it around. It's not just limited to currencies. Don't think that medium of exchange is the only important thing. So think about the store of the wealth. That's when we deal with the quadrant of the four pieces to try to find a balanced storehold of wealth. And then you have to think, can I move that and sell that anywhere? Am I going to have the free capital markets to do that, or are they going to be a problem? So the diversification of that, and I think we are entering a period where all currencies, the traditional medium of exchange type of currencies, are a lot of currencies will compete. What will be the medium in which I could take something and go someplace else and cost effectively convert that into buying? Okay, the medium of exchange. So I think we're in a storehold of wealth issue. In other words, focus in on that. And then, your transaction cost of converting that storehold of wealth, a balanced portfolio, into buying power. And then you transact, because even in the worst inflations, the worst environments, the currencies, most of the time, still could be mediums of exchange, even though they're devalued. So I encourage people to think about bad fiat currencies generally, and think about storeholds of wealth and what the liquidity is, and think about even what capital wars look like.
And in terms of storeholds of wealth, I'm wondering if you have any particular asset in mind. So for example, would gold serve that purpose?
Gold as a overlay on a portfolio, on top of a portfolio, works like an insurance policy. Gold is a dead asset. It just sits there, but it's always it's got characteristics that are limited in supply. One of the most important things, it's the third highest reserve currency held by central banks. And in periods of time of war or such periods of time of credibility, it's the only asset that you can have that's not somebody else's liability. That means you have to be dependent on them giving you money, or they giving you something. And it is international, it can be moved, and it's tried and true. So in that regard, but its behavior is very environmentally specific. So as a hedge asset, as an overlay, it's really like a great insurance policy, because when the other assets go down. And so something like that, or the equivalent, plays a role in a portfolio, not as the core asset, but as the effect of diversification of asset. And that's, if you do it as an overlay, it's about 15% of the portfolio, not taking away assets from other parts of the portfolio. So, but I come back to my basics, which is the four quadrants, the timeless and universal. The one thing that you can be sure of is that cash will not be the best asset class. And when you diversify to a portfolio, so you got a well-balanced portfolio of other things, whenever you have that diversified portfolio, it will outperform cash, because it's the nature of the system. People, the central bank puts money on deposit, people with better ideas come along, take elements of risk, and it works. When that diversified portfolio of asset classes doesn't work well, that balance, there are times it works better than the traditional portfolio in the down moves by a lot. Like when the markets goes down 60% or so, the worst cases are like 20%, maybe a little bit over than that. And it never stays there, because central banks can't let capitalism, which is dependent on those other assets performing a higher return than cash, can't let that continue. So they come in there and they produce money and credit, and it produces the pop. So I think in terms of storeholds of wealth, how you can move it from country to country where it's acceptable in that way. And don't view money just through that idea of the fiat currency, because a fiat currency is cash, is short-term cash, and cash is trash.